Good day. This is an intro class into Johnny's classroom, and I'm making this intro with the use of a quadratic equation. I'm going to solve quadratic equation by factorization. We are going to learn how to do quadratic equation by factorization, how to solve it, to get the solution of quadratic equation by factorization. My name is Mr. John Wakama. I'm your teacher. I'm your host in this class. So let's quickly run down this intro. What is a quadratic equation? A quadratic equation is an equation. It's a type of algebraic equation that have x or any letter because algebraic equations are equations that goes with letters and numbers. Now you can have, usually we make use of x, but any number can also work. Now, a quadratic equation is characterized most especially by having x or any letter to the power of 2. Any equation that have the highest power of a letter or x to be 2 is a quadratic equation. That means the one particular letter in the algebra must have the power of 2. Must have the power of 2. Look at where I'm pointing. The power of 2. Once there is power of 2, it's a quadratic equation. And all quadratic equation must have a letter or the power of x equal to 2. Other ones cannot be there. Now, if you look at that example 1 there, we'll notice that x, there are 3x there, even though only 2x is available, is seen. There are 3x. The first x has the power of 2. The second x has the power of 1. Yes, it has the power of 1. Actually, power of 1 is not written in mathematics. It is never written, but any letter standing alone has the power of 1. Now, the last term of the quadratic equation where you have 6 is have x is there, but the x is not visible. Why the x is not visible is because the x there has the power of 0. X there has the power of 0. So you can see that according to one of the laws of indices, any letter or anything that is raised to power 0 is equal to 1. That is why x raised to power 0 here is also equal to 1. And the 6, minus 6 times 1 is minus 6. That's why you don't have x there. But normally, as a good mathematics student, having understood this, you have to know that there is x here, but the power of that x here is 0. So be that as it is, this last term of a quadratic equation now, I will be referring to it as x raised to power 0. So whenever you hear x raised to power 0, I'm talking about that particular term that doesn't have any x attached to it, because the x is hidden, having the power of 0. Okay, now any quadratic equation can have the x raised to power 0 not present. It can have the x raised to power 1 term not present, but it must have x raised to power 2, that is s squared. That is, the power 2 must be there for it to be a quadratic equation. If the power 2 is not there, it is never a quadratic equation. It is something else. But that's what we are going to discuss next time. But once there is x raised to power 2, it's a quadratic equation, even if the other ones are not available. Okay, now to solve a quadratic equation by factorization, what we note is this: the coefficients. The terms now, the 3 terms, x raised to power 2, x raised to power 1, and x raised to power 0, we are going to note especially we're going to note them. Their coefficient. Coefficient is the number that comes before the letter in algebraic equation. The number that comes before the letter is the coefficient. So we have the coefficient of x squared to be 1. 1 is not written there because 1 is never written as a coefficient. It's also never written as a power. Okay, what I'm saying is that x squared there has the coefficient of 1. There's 1 in front of it, meaning that it's only 1 x squared. Now, the next one, the coefficient of the x raised power 1. Remember the power 1 is not written, which is the middle term now, is minus 1. It's minus 1. You only have minus there where I'm pointing my pen. The reason for the minus is because the reason we have the minus without the 1 is because 1 is never written as a coefficient. So you have minus x, which is minus 1x. Then the coefficient of x raised power 0 is minus 6. It's minus 6. It's minus 6. Okay, so that is to say you have x raised power 1 coefficient 1, x raised power 2 coefficient 1, x raised power 1 coefficient minus 1, x raised power 0 coefficient minus 6. So I bring back the quadratic equation. Now to solve by factorization, to factorize, what we are going to do is to multiply the coefficient of x raised power 2 and that of x raised power 0. That is to say, we are going to multiply 1 times minus 6, and the answer is minus 6. Okay? Having gotten this minus 6 is going to help us a lot. Now, we are going to write the factors of minus 6 in pairs. Factors of minus 6, two whole numbers that we multiply themselves to give minus 6. Okay? And so I have made a list of those numbers now. Now the numbers are 1 and minus 6. 1 times minus 6 is minus 6. 6 times minus 1 is minus 6 2. 3 times minus 2 is minus 6. While minus 3 times 2 is minus 6. Okay? Now, there's a reason I circled the last one. There's a reason I circled the last one. I'm going to tell you the reason very soon. Now, I am going to add these two factors that I multiply to get minus 6 in each of the instances. Now, in each of these cases, now I'm going to add these two numbers for a reason. Now, let's go. Adding them, we have 1 plus 1 plus minus 6, 1 plus minus 6, and that gives me 1 minus 6 because plus times minus will give you minus. So you have minus 5, 6 plus minus 1. That is 6 minus 1 because plus times minus will give you minus 1. Will give you 5. 3 plus minus 2. 3 plus minus 2 because plus times minus will give you minus is 3 minus 2, which is 5. 3 minus 3 plus. Okay. Now, minus 3 plus 2. Minus 3 plus 2 will give us minus 1. Now, the reason I circled the last ones, I want to explain now. I have minus 3 plus 2, which gives me minus 1. The idea of multiplying 1 and 6 to get minus 6, then factorizing minus 6 to get two numbers that when I add them together, it will give me the coefficient of x, which is minus 1. Now, I multiply the coefficient of x squared and the coefficient of x raised power 0 to give me a number. Then I get two multiples of that number, which is 6. Two multiples of 6, that when I add them together, it will give me the coefficient of x raised power 1. The coefficient of x raised power 2 multiply coefficient of x raised to power 0, then the answer, two multiples of it and added together will give me the coefficient of x raised to power 1. The idea is so that I can easily replace in the third step now, so that I can easily replace the minus 1, which is the coefficient of x, with these two multiples of the 6 that I got, which is minus 3 plus 2, which gives me minus 1. So instead of using 1 now, minus 1 now, I will now use minus 3 plus 2. So I now rewrite my quadratic equation to be x raised to x squared minus 3x plus 2x minus 6. That is, in place of minus x now, I'm now using minus 3x plus 2x. And notice that minus 3x plus 2x will give me minus x, which is the original thing in the equation. Okay, if that is done now, the next step is to group these 4 terms now that I now have instead of 3 terms. Group these 4 terms into 2 brackets. You have the first bracket, which is x squared minus 3x inside one bracket, then x 2x minus 6 inside another bracket. Now, when I have done that, I have to look inside the 2 brackets one after the other and bring out a multiple of the 2 terms that is common to the both of them. A factor of the 2 terms that is common to both of them. X squared and 3x. One factor is common, and that is x. So I bring out x inside the bracket. That is to say, I'm going to divide the first term by x. I will get x. Then divide the second term by x. I will get minus 3. That is to say, when I bring out x as a factor from the 2 of them, I will have x minus 3 remaining. The next one, I will do the same thing. What is common in 2x and 6 is 2. Because 2x can be divided by 2. Minus 6 can be divided by 2. So I bring out the 2x now. I bring out the 2 now. I'll have x left here. Then bring out 2 from 6. I'll have 3 left. So I have x minus 3, x minus 2, x minus 3, x minus 3 here. If I am doing it right, if I am solving this thing right, if I'm factorizing it right, the 2 brackets must be the same. These 2 brackets must be the same, as you can see, x minus 3, x minus 3. Then the next step is to take the 2 factors brought out and one of the brackets. So I'm going to take x and plus 2, put them inside one bracket, then take one of the brackets which are identical. So I have x plus 2, x minus 3 equal to 0. So these are the 2 factors of our original equation. These are the 2 factors of our original equation now. Then, if these 2, to solving it now, because I'm solving quadratic equation, I'm not just factorizing it. If I stop here, I'll finish factorization of the quadratic equation. But to proceed in solving it, to get the value of x. Now, I have noted that x plus 2 multiplying x plus 3 is equal to 0. If 2 things are multiplying, that means one of them must be 0. And that is to say, since I have x plus 2 multiplying x minus 3 to give me 0, that is to say, it's either x plus 2 is equal to 0 or x minus 3 is equal to 0. And if that is true now, if x plus 2 is equal to 0, that means x will be minus 2. How do I get minus 2? I have to take these 2 to the other side of the equality sign. And if you take anything to the other side of the equality sign, the sign will change. So the plus 2 will become minus 2. Taking this minus 3 across the equality sign now, taking it across the equality sign now, the minus 3 will become 3. So that I have x minus 2 or x equal to minus 2 or x equals to 3. And this happens to be the final solution of the quadratic equation. That quadratic equation has been solved. It's a very simple process. If you go through the video, you will see the step by step. I'm going to do another video of a solution of another quadratic equation by factorization, so that when the two videos are checked and digested, it will become a simple thing for anybody who want to solve quadratic equation. Thank you for your time. Try to practice one for yourself.